and welcome to CNBC-TV18 special coverage from the B20 India Summit 2023 here in the capital. I'm Shereen Bhan. The conversations continue through the morning today. We've had a whole bunch of sessions, including a very important and interesting one on climate financing that's just concluded. But of course, here in our studios, we continue to get an array of stellar panelists and experts to talk to us about the role that India is playing today as far as the global economy is concerned, but more importantly, the priorities for the world as we talk about recovery and growth. Joining me now is the former global CEO of Deloitte and the current chairman of SAP, Punit Renjen. Always a pleasure, Punit. So good to have you back on CNBC TV18.
Oh, it's great to be back. I'm the incoming chairman. I'm the deputy chairman right now.
That's right, the incoming chairman of SAP. But, you know, let me start by asking you, Punit, about your mood on India. We last spoke in January at the World Economic Forum in Davos, and you've been a long-term investor in India through Deloitte, and of course you've had a long-term belief in the India growth story. As you see how things have shaped up since then, what's the view?
You know, just a few days ago, as you know, India landed on the moon.
Yes.
And the feeling that you had, that is emblematic of what the rest of the world feels about India. A sense of pride and a sense of belief that India is here to lead the rest of the world. You know, for the longest time, you and I have talked many times before, I've been talking about this being India's century. And it was a little bit of on the come, if you will. I believe now, with the core of my heart, that this is India's century. And I think the conversation has changed.
What do you see that's changed when we speak about the conversations that you're having with other global CEOs, with investors? What's been the material change that you've noticed?
Well, one is intangible. I think, as I said, what India achieved, a shoestring budget in terms of going to the moon. I think intangibly people have started believing in the Indian story. But then there's the tangible aspect, which is demonstrated in the growth that India has exhibited, the relocation of supply chains to India, the tight collaboration between the U.S. and India. I'm a big proponent of that. I'm on the U.S.-India CEO Forum, and I think these are natural allies, and I think the choice that India is making with the U.S. Is a tangible change. And I think the other interesting thing that India has done with this G20 presidency is change the conversation, which is we need to develop in a different way, in a sustainable, inclusive way that takes the unique aspects of the global South into account. And I think that is a tangible change.
You know, I'll get to the G20 priorities that India is going to take forward in just a second, but let's build on what's changed as far as the India-US relationship is concerned. And as part of the India-US CEO Forum, you know, we've of course talked about this great partnership and the potential that this relationship enjoys. We've now started to see the needle move. Which are the specific areas that you believe we will see faster movement on?
Well, I think it's a spectrum of sectors, from technology to defense, but it's also in things like skill building. I've spent time with Minister Pradhan, for instance, and what India and the U.S. can do in reskilling and skilling some of the young people in India is an area that the two countries can collaborate on. India can lead on the conversation around climate. I'll give you an example, and I think you and I have talked about this in the past. You know, stubble burning and the response that we've had on stubble burning and trying to abate that. 69% reduction in fires in the state of Haryana, a 2.25 metric ton reduction in CO2 emissions, 30 crores of income back to farmers. That is a uniquely Indian way to address some of the climate challenges that we all face.
You know, on that issue, Punit, specifically, what can be done to replicate this model, this case study, so to speak, that's worked in Rohtak, and actually build this out for large parts of North India? Because it's not just a Haryana problem, it is a North India problem. What's stopping us from being able to scale this up? What are the key deterrents?
Well, finance is one. I may have done, it has to be a sustainable model. And I think it has to, you're right, scale up to Punjab, where the the bulk of the stubble is burned, and in Uttar Pradesh. This year we will try and get it all across Haryana, and we will get it into Uttar Pradesh as a pilot. Hopefully we can then get it into Punjab. But part of it is just the ability to finance it. Equipment doesn't come cheap. And then getting the government and the private sector to collaborate and create an ecosystem of partners that believe that something tangible can be done.
You know, on the issue of climate finance as well, and we just finished a fairly interesting panel here where people like Mark Carney and Uday Kotak and others and Bernard Looney of BP were discussing what it will take to make this transition. So while you want to continue to invest in new technologies, in greener and cleaner technologies, but what do you do with the legacy oil and gas sectors, for instance? Do you not fund them at all? And these are complex issues and complex challenges. What gives you hope on what we've seen change as far as climate financing is concerned? And more importantly, what are the things that you look forward to?
Well, I think there were a number of things that came out of that panel. The first was what Mark Carney said, that financing has gone up to 1.7 trillion from 500 billion. That is material change. There needs to be significantly more that needs to be invested, but we need to celebrate that. I think that is good. The second point that Bernard made, which is which is we need to invest in a rapid fashion on the new technologies and abate what we are doing to planet Earth, but at the same time invest in the current technology. So that needs to happen, and that gives me some hope. But I think the most sobering comment was from Uday around the fact that we don't have time.
Yeah,
I find the whole conversation in the United States, we're going through a political process around still debating the role of business. I have a panel this afternoon, and I will make the point that this is not something that we're doing this from the goodness of our heart. It is good business.
And it is linked to your survival as well, to the survival of business in many ways.
Shereen, let me give you a statistic. At Deloitte, 400,000 professionals. 85% of them are Gen Zs and millennials. When I was CEO, we would survey them all the time. You know what their number one issue was? Climate. What are you doing, Mr. CEO and Deloitte, to abate and address this climate crisis? Now, if I want to hire and retain the very best people, I must have a credible response. It is good business. The reason why we invested was because it was good business.
No, I get that, and I hope that that is the narrative that sort of drives decision-making, not just in the area of climate, but in areas of inclusion and diversity and so on and so forth as well. But, you know, specifically on what are the next fixes on climate finance specifically, what is it that you would like to see?
Well, I think Uday talked about the fact that there is this gap where, first off, it has to be a private sector and a public sector collaboration. This issue cannot be addressed by government alone, by NGOs. The business community and the private sector has to play a critical role. I think that is absolutely important. Secondly, I think we need to have a set of measurements so that we can have consistency across the globe. And we've made some progress. The ISSB, this gives me tremendous hope, has come up with certain baseline measures. It's really important for everybody to embrace them, particularly the EU and the United States. We can't go back to this alphabet soup of measures so that we can measure and hold ourselves to account. But that gives me hope. I think we need to move in that direction. I'll be talking about that in the session this afternoon.
Let's talk about technology and now your role as incoming chairman of SAP, and there's so much conversation here on the role that technology is playing, especially to drive financial inclusion, to improve lives of people. Of course, India attempting to showcase what we've been able to do as far as digital public infrastructure is concerned. What are you most hopeful of as you take on this new role?
It's a great time to be alive. One of the advantages of being old like me is that you've actually seen all these waves. I mean, I've seen the re-engineering wave, I've seen Y2K, the internet. This wave, digital cloud AI, is like nothing I've ever seen. And I think the opportunity for us to fundamentally change the way we work, live, address some of the complex issues like climate, it's a tremendous opportunity.
So what is it that you would like to prioritize now as you set forward for this new innings?
Well, I mean, Hasso Plattner, I'll be following Hasso Plattner, who's an iconic, legendary individual, so I think these are very big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not going to fill his shoes. As I said, when they elected me, is that I'm going to walk my own path. There's only one Punit Renjen. I'm not going to try and be Hasso Plattner. But SAP does, their research center is in India. And so my intent would be to redouble that effort. Like we did at Deloitte, I would expect that the focus on India will be tremendous vis-a-vis SAP. The talent is here in India, the opportunity is here in India. So I'm really focused on that. I'm also focused on SAP taking advantage and leveraging the capabilities that we have in digital and cloud and in AI to help our customers really run better and address some of these really complex issues that we all face, like climate. And so I'm excited about that.
You know, and plenty to be excited about, but what will the Punit Renjen path be? If you were to sort of extrapolate on the back of everything that you've done so far in your previous avatars, you know, what is it that you would like to take forward as you forge this new innings?
This is the last innings. I want to have fun. I want to make an impact. I think that's the reason why I took on the role, and make an impact beyond just the bottom line. I want to be able to address or have SAP address some of the complex issues that we all face, and to really give back to the communities that we live and work in. SAP has 100,000 professionals, nearly 20,000, I believe, in India. To make sure that this is the best place for them to work, and so to really make an impact. I think that's what enthuses me, and that's what I hope to do in my last innings. I do want to say something before we came onto the air. You know, I was saying this to you, 40 years ago, if the opportunities that exist in India today existed 40 years ago, I don't know if I would have left. This is a great time to be in India. It is an absolutely great time to be a young person in India. There are certainly problems, there are certainly issues, and America is a wonderful country. You and I were talking about that. You know, for a brown kid from Rohtak, Haryana to go run a white shoe company or entity like Deloitte can only happen in America. It's a wonderful place, but India is a great place to be.
So would you consider coming back?
I would, yeah, I would. I would consider coming back.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So once the innings with SAP is over, perhaps a homecoming?
Absolutely. Maybe back in Rohtak.
Maybe back in Rohtak. Punit, always a pleasure. It's wonderful to speak with you. We wish you the very best of luck. Thanks so much for joining us here on CNBC-TV18.
Thank you so much.
Well, that is Punit Renjen speaking to us here at the B20 India Summit. We are going to take a break and return with more conversation. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment.